YouTube, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, you've seen it in the title, what we're going to be talking about: the possibility of the final Otsutsuki being Jashin. How could we possibly overlook this, okay? Guys, we're going to be talking about this and diving deep into some information-filled databases right after this. Let that intro play. Let's get it. Alright, we are back, y'all. Okay, before we hop into any of this, I got 3 articles for you guys that I will be leaving the link in the description below. And as we are going over it, I will be putting it up on the screen so that you guys can check it out as well. But it'll just be a standstill picture. So make sure you guys are following the links in the bottom. I told you guys I come with the facts, okay? Now, guys, alright. There has been somebody, I was scrolling Facebook one day, and this popped up as a thread, seeing as how Jashin could possibly be the final Otsutsuki, okay? Now, with that being said, I got some articles here. What we're first going to be doing is talking about Jashin himself and then talking about his counterpart in real life, Jashinism, the religion, okay? So first thing we need to do is talk about the origin of Jashin, okay? Jashinism history. Jashinism was created on the Japanese island Shikoku during the late Jomon period, 14,000 BC to 300 BC, to the early Nara period, 710 AD to 794 AD. Shikoku is the smallest and least populated island of Japan. Jashinism shares many similarities to Buddhism and Shintoism, okay? So that in itself is the history of Jashinism, so that you guys know that Jashinism actually exists, all right? So let's talk about Jashinism. What is it, all right? Jashinism is the religious practice based upon the worship of Jashin, the god of pain, death, and destruction. Things that are depicted as evil by most people, but that is due to nothing more than people's fears. Jashinism is a polytheist religion that acknowledges and respects the faiths of others. All right, guys, and I'm sorry if my camera's acting weird with the lighting and stuff. Don't mind it. But that is Jashinism in real life and what it actually is, okay? Make sure you guys are paying attention to this, and that article is there as well. Guys, let's go to the next article. Let's actually talk about the counterpart. We talked about it in real life. Now let's actually talk about it in the Narutoverse, all right? Let's actually talk about it. Let's get to it. Jashin, all right? Meaning, literally meaning, wicked heart, evil god, evil design, okay? Make sure you guys are keeping this in mind for the theory at the end. Jashin is the god of worship, is the god worshipped in Jashinism, all right? Jashin's symbol is an upside down triangle with a circle around it. Remember, Hidan was doing this, all right? Little of Jashin and his ways is known to those who aren't his followers, so named Jashinists. According to Hidan, Jashin demands nothing less than utter death and destruction. And Akatsuki Hidan frames this as a public service, saving people from the fear of death by killing them. One's neighbors are the most ideal target, but Hidan explains to Ameyuki that a neighbor requires more than physical proximity. Hidan spends most of his time with Kakuzu, but he will never consider Kakuzu to be his neighbor because he hates Kakuzu. Hidan always prays to Jashin before a fight, asking for a good kill. If he is unsuccessful or is not allowed to kill, he prays for forgiveness. In Konoha Shinden, Konoha investigated Jashinism following their encounter with Hidan, alright, directly after the events of the fight with Asuma. They were unable to turn up much conclusive information about the religion, and in fact, could not locate a single worshiper. All right, with so little information to go on, Konoha's official report offered the possibility that Jashin was in fact an invention of Hidan. Several years after the Fourth Shinobi World War, Konoha joins forces with Yugakure to investigate Jashinism again. In doing so, they uncover a sect of Jashinists led by Ryuki, who have been kidnapping travelers to sacrifice to Jashin. Mirai Sarutobi, with the help of Kakashi Hatake and Might Guy, is able to stop the Jashinists and save the sacrifices. If you guys remember, that was an actual episode, okay? Hidan is the most successful experiment of the Jashin religion's secret techniques, which makes him immortal. Lack of nutrition is the only way he can actually die. Ryuki indicates this immortality is granted by Jashin in exchange for the ritualistic sacrifice of several people at once. Ryuki exclusively gathers young girls for this purpose, but it's unclear if this is necessary for the ritual. In addition to immortality, Jashin's followers can use certain jujutsu, creating voodoo-like links with targets whose blood they've ingested for as long as they remain within the perimeter of Jashin's symbol. With Hidan's death-controlling possessed blood, he links himself to his targets, causing them to experience any injuries that he does. Because he's immortal, he can kill targets by giving himself fatal wounds. With Ryuki's blood-controlling manipulated blood, he links targets to a puppet, causing anything that happens to the puppet to happen to them, and forcing them to mimic any movement the puppet makes, regardless of whether they're alive. Same thing he did to Asuma. Okay, guys, with that right there, I've given you the 3 articles right there, and they were put in the description below and put onto the screen. Now let's get into the theory, okay, of how this could all be tied into Jashin being the actual Otsutsuki, okay? There are 3 things that could possibly boil down to pointing at Jashin being the next Otsutsuki, or being an Otsutsuki, period. All right. 1. What does all Otsutsuki really need in order to make their dream come true? Yes, they need a chakra fruit, but it's something much more important than that. Every single Otsutsuki that came down, remember, was coming down to Earth in pairs. Meaning what? One was to be a what? Vessel. The other was to be the sacrifice. All right. Sacrifice is the key thing I want you guys to look at here. All right. Because there's always been a relative distinct feature between every single time they came to Earth. Every single god Otsutsuki has come for one purpose, and that is to sacrifice. All right. There has to be some sort of sacrifice. All right. Now, the second thing that I feel as though that points to Jashin being an Otsutsuki is the fact of, look at who he is, all right? Jashin is the only character in the Narutoverse, okay, who is before we even got into the arc of gods at the end of the 4th Great Ninja War, before we got to the end of Shippuden and knowing about what gods were and that they were actually a thing in Boruto or Narutoverse, period, Jashin was the only person who was out of the loop. Why? Because we just looked at Jashin being a something that Hidan follows. But if you actually looked closer and deeper behind the meaning of Jashin, you would see that Hidan is serving a god, okay? With that being said, all right, in the first clip that I, well, not clip, but the actual, the article, the small little thread, that's what I want to say, the thread that I posted in the beginning, okay? If you take a look at it right there, not only is he a god, but the third thing, not the final thing I want to talk about, but the third thing that could possibly be pointing to Jashin being an Otsutsuki, okay, is the fact that if you read it, it states Jashin is literally in a vessel named Kankoku. Okay, now what do we know about the Otsutsukis? Okay, we know they need one to be a vessel and the other to be a sacrifice. Why is it that Jashin is pretty much both? You know what I mean? He literally is like both in one person. Okay, literally, the fact of the matter that he can literally, you can sacrifice, he needs the sacrifice, and plus he already has a vessel. Okay, so that right there could point to him being an Otsutsuki. All right, vessel, sacrifice, and his literal meaning of his name, being a god, an evil god. And on top of that, if that's not enough, it's an evil god, and none of the gods that came down to earth were good. None of them. Not Kaguya, not Ishiki, not Urashiki, not Kenshiki, not Momoshiki. None of these dudes were good. They all wanted the same thing, all right, which was sacrifice in order to gain a higher knowledge of power. Now, here's more dwelling into my theory as to why I feel as though Jashin could be an Otsutsuki. Look at this. Each Otsutsuki that came down had a specific power linked to them. For example, Urashiki was the first god or Otsutsuki that we saw with both visual prowesses, all right, the Byakugan and the Rinnegan, all right. Besides Hagoromo, all right? Not even Hagoromo. Hagoromo only had Rinnegan, all right? And Hamura had the Byakugan. So as far as the gods, Urashiki, as far as to us, is the only one who's known to be able to use both visual prowesses, all right? The Byakugan and the Rinnegan. Then you had Momoshiki. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't even know what his his real power really was. But then you had Ishiki, which Ishiki has a different kind of visual jutsu and can shrink things, all right, and can make them larger again. Kenshiki was just a big boulder mass of just destruction, and he was also very formidably strong and could take a lot of damage, brute strength. Okay, so with that being said, each one of these Otsutsuki had something in particular to them, whereas Jashin also has something particular linked to him, which is what? Symbolism, all right? Symbolism, I would definitely say, and the death controlling possessed blood, all right? Being able to link your target to a puppet to make them do exactly what the Nara clan can do, all right? Which is, if they catch you with that shadow, you're pretty much possessed by that user, all right? So with that being said, there is some good information right there that could lead to Jashin being the next, or being an Otsutsuki, period. Also, take a look at the screen. As you can check on the screen, look at the markings on Hidan's body when he's in curse mode or Jashin mode. You know what I'm saying? What have we also seen with all the other Otsutsuki? They come down as a regular deity, but then they go into curse mode, or should we say Otsutsuki mode, where they start to grow the horns and start to get the patterns, okay? Just like a karma, okay? Now, I know at the end of the day, we look at Hidan and you guys may be like, well, that's not any special markings or anything like that. They don't look like any of the Otsutsuki, but think of it like this. Like I said, each Otsutsuki, along with their self and their power, they also have different and special markings to them, all right? So who's to say that this marking that's on Hidan is nothing more than Jashin's special karma mark, okay? Or curse mark. Who's to say that because he's the god of death and pain and destruction, his markings couldn't be a skeleton? Nobody stated that. Okay, and nowhere in the Narutoverse or any of the manga does it state that special markings had to be a special kind of way. It does not state it. It only states that each Otsutsuki has a special brand to themselves. It's just like ocular jutsu and how it passes down between the clan, and each person, no two Sharingan is alike, okay? Same here. No two curse marks or no two karma marks are the same, all right? And that is why I say, I feel as though these reasonings that I've stated to you is part of the reason why I believe that he is Otsutsuki. So with that being said, a small theory is, what if Jashin is actually the final strongest Otsutsuki, but he doesn't have all of his power? Hear me out, okay? What if the purpose of making these sacrifices, if it's true that he's up in the vessel Kankoku, okay? If that's true, that he's actually in a vessel, Hidan and Ryuki, they were the only two known followers as far as Jashinism, and they killed a lot of people. Who's to say that these sacrifices add to Jashin's power to give it back? Okay, maybe you guys aren't hearing me. Okay, how about this? What if Jashin is a fallen Otsutsuki? Huh? What if Jashin is a fallen Otsutsuki? And we've also got to see the actual Otsutsuki god. And who's to say that Otsutsuki god ain't banished Jashin? We don't know. But it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. Come on, y'all. Y'all can't tell me that I ain't right. Like, y'all can't tell me that I ain't wrong. Y'all can't tell me I ain't wrong. Well, y'all can tell me I'm wrong, but you know what I mean? It's all an opinion, all right? It's all an opinion. It's nothing more than a theory, okay? Please, guys, if you guys enjoyed my theory or agree with my theory, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what your theories are, and do you think that Jashin could be the final Otsutsuki in the whole plan behind everything? Do you think that Jashin is actually puppeting behind the scenes? Guys, if you enjoyed this video, you already know what to do. Don't be afraid to hover and haunt that like button. Subscribe today to become part of the Soul Gang team. Nephilim, let's get it. Tap that notification bell to know each and every time that I'm uploading videos. And guys, remember, to be good at the game, you gotta kill with skill. And until our next video, yo, look it up. I could be right, yo. Jashin Otsutsuki, let's go.